Good day, students. So today we are going to talk about the production possibilities and opportunity cost. So this is under microeconomics. So we're going to talk about production possibilities and opportunity cost in the Philippines. So let us see. So let us start with the overview. So when we say production in the Philippines, let us see what can we produce, what do we have. So we start with what we already have. So it is estimated that the Philippines is home to more than 21.5 billion metric tons of metal deposits and 19.3 billion metric tons of non-metal mineral deposits. So we are talking about copper, timber, nickel, petroleum, silver, gold, cobalt, and salt. Aside from mineral deposits, we also have agricultural production, which is very high because most rural areas are in farming. Aside from we have a temperature. So the fisheries sector is also a major resource since Philippines is surrounded by bodies of water. So we have a great opportunity when it comes to thinking into going into business when it comes to fisheries. So in fact, in 1995, the Philippines contributed 2.2 million tons or 2% of the world catch, ranking it 12th among the top 80 fish producing countries. So we are talking worldwide. In the same year, the country also earned the distinction of being the fourth biggest producer of seaweeds and the ninth biggest producer of world aquaculture products. So we're just talking about metal deposits and non-metal mineral deposits. We have also fishes and we have aquaculture. What about the other things like plants, flowers, trees, and other things that we have in our surroundings. So when we talk about production, we have the following. So before we can produce, we must have resources, technology, and production possibilities. And what are these? So number one, we have our number one resources. We have labor, capital, material resources, and entrepreneurship. So labor represents skilled workers. So we need them in order to produce goods and services. So an example is if we want to create a bakery, then we need a baker. The same is true if we want to create a building, then we need a carpenter. If you want to know something, then you need a teacher. Okay? So, well, we spend for this cost, so we call it labor cost. So like 600 pesos per day or 350 pesos per day. So we have to pay them. Okay, another is capital. So capital is not only money, but we also have equipments, tools, the structure, machinery, vehicles, materials, and skills created to help produce goods and services. So if you want to create a bakery business, then you need cutleries, measuring cups, oven, glass stand, and a delivery vehicle. Natural resources are also considered. So these include land as the site, among other natural things, like for example, the presence of water, or let's say a very fertile land, or the presence of rocks to be used in the making of say your building. Aside from natural resources, we have also entrepreneurship. This is the talent to develop products and processes and to organize production to make goods and services available. So it has something to do with knowledge and talent that comes out as skills. most especially with, like, the best way of doing things, or the latest trends in doing things. We have also production. This is the process of using the services of labor and other resources to take goods and services available. These goods and services are the outputs, while the economic resources are the inputs. Okay, then you need technology. This is the knowledge of how to produce goods and services, and it helps alleviate scarcity. When we say technology, we might be talking about hardware, software, and including knowledge. So, letter G is assumption. This is a process of examining or analyzing the relationships between the production of goods and services and the availability and use of resources. And this has something to do with research. So when we say you research, you are going to see to it that the production is going to be equal with consumption, so that there won't be surplus or there won't be shortages. If there's surplus, it is not good to business, because your tendency is to give away the surplus. Or if not, you are going to make it buy one, take one. Okay, and if there's shortage, the more that it is not good to your business, because you will be able to create dissatisfied customers. So the quantity and quality of economic resources available for use during a year can be determined through research. There are no broad classes of outputs we can produce with available economic resources. So, food and clothing. Some inputs are better adapted to the production of one product than to the production of another. The more specialized a worker, the higher the opportunity cost transferring him to another line of work. So technology is fixed and does not advance during the year. Okay. So aside from this um, production production needs, we also have the opportunity of going international. So right now we're going to talk about international trade. So why is it that we included this one as an opportunity? Many of us, we have technology in the Philippines. We have the internet, we have social media, among many others, that enables you to go international without leaving your seat. Am I correct? So you can sell your products online. You can even barter your products with others in the international arena or in any part of the country without leaving your place. So the term we're going to use is what we call as globalization. So the gains from international trade. Globalization. In general, if the opportunity cost of importing an item is lower than the opportunity cost of producing it domestically. So if you are going to produce it here in the Philippines and it's very costly, when in fact it's very easy to get online, why not enjoy international trade? So an example is rice imports in the Philippines as of January 2020 made prices of rice in the market low. Why? Why? What happened? Prices of rice is at an average of 37.24 per kilogram in the Philippines. This is 11% lower than the 41.82 per kilo level from the same period a year ago. So, and 0.2% down on a weekly basis according to Philippine Star. The main reason is that the imported rice coming from other countries like Vietnam is at lower cost, or it's lower than producing rice in the Philippines, because the production cost is a lot higher than the importation cost. Okay. So the principle of what we call as comparative advantage states that a nation can gain consumption possibilities by specializing in goods that it can produce domestically at lower opportunity cost trading partners. There are mutual gains from trading partners when they specialize in producing items for which they enjoy a comparative advantage and then engage in international trade for other goods and services. So, I would like you to highlight the word comparative advantage. So, to make the sentence short, comparative advantage is when you will be able to produce products at a lower cost compared to other countries. So you have a comparative advantage than that of those countries. Okay, so we have the law of absolute advantage. So absolute advantage is the ability of an individual, company, region, or country to produce a greater quantity of a good or service with the same quantity of inputs per unit of time to produce the same quantity of a good or service per unit of time using a lesser quantity of inputs than another or entity that produces the same good or service. So, in short, you simply have produce same products with the same inputs but at a lower cost compared to others. So you have what we call as the law of absolute advantage. So you are at an advantageous situation than the others because you can produce the same product and yet the cost or the expenses that you have incurred is a lot lower than theirs. Okay? So let us consider two hypothetical countries, Atlantica and Krasnovia, with equivalent populations and resource endowments. So these these two countries are almost similar with each other when it comes to population and natural resources. So they produce guns and bacon. So each year, Atlantica can produce 12 guns and 6 slabs of bacon, while Krasnovia can produce 6 guns or 12 slabs of bacon. Each country needs a minimum of 4 guns and 4 slabs of bacon to survive. So what happens if you need 4 guns and 4 slabs of bacon to survive? It means that Krasnovia have a surplus in 6 guns compared to what's below 4 guns. Okay, so there's a surplus of 2 guns. Okay, but it's either 6 guns or if not, 12 slabs of bacon. So you have to take note of the word or. So that country must choose either guns or slabs. So if they produce guns, they will have surplus. If they choose bacon, they will have surplus. While Atlantica can produce 12 guns or 6 slabs of bacon. So, there's just an opposite in here that's going on. So, in a state of autarky, producing solely on their own for their own needs, you see, okay, Atlantica can spend 1/3 of the year making guns and 2/3 making bacon for a total of 4 guns and 4 slabs of bacon. Krasnovia can spend 1/3 of the year making bacon and 2/3 making guns to produce the same 4 guns and 4 slabs of bacon. This leaves each country at the brink of survival with barely enough guns and bacon to go around. However, not that Atlantica has an absolute advantage in producing guns, and Krasnovia has an absolute advantage in producing bacon. So, if let's say you are president of one of the countries, what are you going to do? So, absolute advantage also explains why it makes sense for individuals, businesses, and countries to trade. So, why not exchange, isn't it? You might be telling me now, one will do the guns and the other on the bacon. So, since Krasnovia is very good in producing bacon, while Atlantica is very good in producing guns, then why not stay on what they specialize? Then afterwards, they are going to exchange so that they won't have they won't have shortages and surpluses. Okay? So if each country were to specialize in their absolute advantage, Atlantica could make 10 guns and 12 guns and no bacon, while Krasnovia makes no guns and 12 slabs of bacon. So, well, they're going to exchange, and if they are going to trade, then they will have 6 each. So 6 guns and 6 slabs of bacon. When in fact they're going to consume 4 guns and 4 slabs of bacon, so they will have 2 surplus of each, which they can sell to other countries, and they will be able to have money. So that's what we call as the law of absolute advantage. Okay? So comparative advantage is a little bit similar with absolute advantage. So comparative advantage is having an advantage over others when it comes to comparison. So there are trade-offs or disadvantages. The one with the best overall package is the one with the comparative advantage. So the one with the edge, a little edge over the other, is the one with what we call as comparative advantage. Okay? A while ago, when we say absolute advantage, you have the the overall, or you have all the advantages over the other. So comparative advantage is a key insight that trade will still occur even if one country has an absolute advantage in all products. So we have diversity of skills. People learn their comparative advantages through wages. This drives people into those jobs they are comparatively best at. If a skilled mathematician earns more as an engineer than as a teacher, he and everyone he trades with is better off when he practices engineering. So wider gaps in opportunity costs allow for higher levels of value production by organizing labor more efficiently. The greater the diversity in people and their skills, the greater the opportunity for beneficial trade through comparative advantage. So an example is consider the famous athlete Michael Jordan. So as a basketball and baseball star, Michael Jordan is an exceptional athlete whose physical abilities surpass those of most other individuals. So Michael Jordan would likely be able to paint his house quickly owing to his abilities as well as his impressive height. Hypothetically, Michael Jordan could paint his house in 8 hours. In the same 8 hours, though, he could also take part in the filming of a television commercial which would earn him $50,000. So by contrast, Jordan's neighbor Joe could paint the house in 10 hours. In that same period of time, he could work at a fast food restaurant and earn $100. So in this example, Joe has a comparative advantage even though Michael Jordan could paint the house faster and better. So the best trade would be for Michael Jordan to film a television commercial and pay Joe to paint his house. Okay, so for our key takeaways, comparative advantage suggests that countries will engage in trade with one another, exporting the goods that they have a relative advantage in productivity. The theory was first introduced by David Ricardo in the year 1817, and absolute advantage refers to the uncontested superiority of a country to produce a particular good better. So comparative advantage introduces opportunity costs as a factor for analysis in choosing between different options for production. Okay? Comparative advantage is contrasted with absolute advantage because absolute advantage refers to the ability to produce more or better goods and services than somebody else, while comparative advantage is referring to the ability to produce goods and services at lower opportunity cost, not necessarily at greater volume or quality. To see the difference, consider an attorney and her secretary. So the attorney is better at producing legal services than the secretary and is also a faster typist and organizer. In this case, the attorney has an absolute advantage in both the production of legal services and secretarial work. Nevertheless, they benefit from trade thanks to their comparative advantages and disadvantages. Okay? So let's go to the sources of economic growth. Economic growth is the increase of the goods and services produced in the economy over time. So it is conventionally measured as the percent rate of increase in real gross domestic product, or what we call as gross domestic product, or GDP. So in economics, economic growth refers to the growth of potential output like production at full employment of people and full employment of machines, natural resources, and the like. The factors of production, which is caused by growth in aggregate demand or observed output. Increased quantities of economic resources. All things being equal, the more workers willing to work, the more capital, more land, greater production possibilities. And I would like to highlight lots of goods and services. Okay. So number 2 is we have improved quality of economic resources. So improvement in skills, education, and training of the labor force can increase output obtained from any combination of inputs, and this is considered as economic growth. We have also advances in technology. So improvements in the quality of inputs increase productive potential resulting from the development of new technologies as a very important source of economic growth. Okay, so I would like you to look at the following, then answer 1 to 10, and we have also comparison of absolute advantage and comparative advantage by citing two countries. Okay, so that ends our topic for today, and I hope you were able to learn something about production possibilities and opportunity costs in the Philippines. Thank you very much and good day.